gonna try to go backwards. It's new bike day, but not just any new bike. This is my first e-bike, although it's probably not the style of bike you would expect me to be riding, but it's time to get it built up and see how it looks. Oh, here we go. I can definitely tell there's a motor in there and a battery somewhere. It does look like it was packaged pretty well, pretty safe, I would say. Hopefully no damage with all this plastic wrap and bubble wrap and all that good stuff. While I am building this up, I'm going to take the battery out and get a head start on charging. Comes out quite easy, that's nice. Looks like a very simple charger here. You just plug it in and it should show red, and when it's green, it's ready to go. Okay, I guess I'll start with putting the front wheel on here. Pretty basic quick release, easy enough. Moving on to the handlebars next, and it actually comes with a multi-tool here, so I guess I'll use that. And now for the fender. Looks like the headlight uses the same mount as the fender, so I might as well put that on while I'm down here. And next up, I'm going to put the bottle cage on. It's on the bottom side of the down tube. It's not the easiest to reach, but it's there when you need it. And now for the pedals. I was actually pretty surprised to see these were all metal. The cranks are even labeled for the left side pedal being reverse threaded. And finally, for the derailleur guard, which I have never had on a bike before, but I guess when there's this much weight that could fall down on it, maybe it's not a bad idea. Oh, and I can't forget to swap the brakes to moto style, put the front brake on the right. And here it is. This is the KBO Breeze electric commuter bike with a step-through frame, and I'm going to be testing it out in a variety of ways as soon as that battery is done charging. Okay, I'm going to start out here with a top speed test using the throttle only. Takes off a little bit sluggish, but it does feel like it's getting up to speed pretty quick actually. I'm up to 20 now. Should hit about 22 before the power, yep, there we go, 22, a little more. You can see the power meter, how much it's putting down, and it's cutting out now that I was going over 22, have a slight downhill. So it hits 22 and then it starts to taper off so it doesn't go too fast. Okay, now I'm going to do the pedal assist and see what speeds we get out of that. This is at assist 1, getting about 9-10 miles an hour. Bump it up to 2. That'll bump me up to 12, 13. Bump it up to 3, 15, 17. And I'm not even engaging the pedals, I'm just spinning the cranks, and this is what it's getting me. Bump it up to 4, and putting some power down now, up to 21 already. Bump it up to 5. Didn't really feel much difference between 4 and 5, but hitting right about that 22 mark with putting no effort into the pedals. If I shift up over here, start cranking, now I'm going above the assist and hitting 25, 26, but putting a good amount of effort in. I'm back in the garage after the speed test, and now I'm going to test it out a little bit differently by taking my chainsaw out into the woods. So it should fit right on this rack perfectly, and once I have it strapped down, I won't have to worry about stretching my leg all the way over the back. I'll just be able to move right on through the step through, easy on and off. Might as well add a little challenge to the ride. Woo! And here we are. Looks like the saw stayed put pretty well, even with a pretty poor tie-down job. And just like that, I can get to work. While this is not the intended use of this bike, it is a way that I could see myself using it because we have a lot of mellow trails around here and trees fall down, trail work needs to be done, so it's nice to have an easy and safe way to carry a chainsaw on a bicycle. It's a lot better than trying to hold it one-handed or putting it in a backpack, so I can definitely see it being of use for me. But now I kind of just want to go test it out on some more of those mellow trails. It is pretty muddy today, so probably not the best for these tires. Uh-oh, first log. Oh, no problem. And a leafy, slippery rock garden bounces right through. into the berm, try to shred it. Oh yeah. Check that straight line tracking. Good enough. There's a bit of a step in this climb. No problem. Now this is a steeper climb with a bit of an S-turn. Oh, and it's slick. A little more speed at the bottom. And it's almost there. There it is. Oh wow, creeping. So this is pretty fun, but I'm definitely starting to feel the limitations of the bike, and I'm trying not to go beyond them. It is definitely not designed for this. There is quite a bit of flex in the frame and in the fork that I can feel while I'm putting some force into it, so I don't want to push it too hard, but it's still a lot of fun. So time to get a little tricky, I think, and drop the seat, maybe spin around or go backwards. We'll see what I can do. Oh, okay, it'll come around. Oh, that was almost it. Not as good as I'd like. Okay, you may have been able to hear that, but I keep having the battery pop out on some of these impacts. I'm wondering if I just didn't get the key to latch it correctly, but it seems all good when I hit it in. As soon as they start bouncing around, it loosens up, it wants to pop out. Well, I probably should have at least let some air out of the tires on that one. That was really tough to get that pivot around. This is a pretty good side hill and it's muddy. These tires are slick and hard. It's a lot of weight to pivot, so it took quite a few tries to get it figured out. I definitely had to get a little bit steeper than I thought, but it's hard even to get it that steep. And if you don't get it steep enough and pull enough, then you're not bringing it around. So yeah, that was tricky, but when it worked, it felt normal, so it should have just happened right away. Not real sure why, but I'm gonna try to go backwards down this and do it first try. Wow. Well, that was easy. No, not really, but pretty glad to get it first try. So now that I have a good feel over the suspension and brakes, I can say that they're pretty weak, but that is to be expected with this level of components. I'm used to much higher end suspension and brakes, so to go to this is a bit of a challenge to get used to, but for most people and for the intended purposes of this bike, I'm sure they're just fine. Something that's a little bit tricky about the brakes is that the lever is very close to the grip right away, and there's not a lot of room to have it engage very far out. So my bigger hands don't have a lot of room to pull the lever in and have good power. I would really like to be using it out here for more leverage as well, but there's not a lot of room on the bar to slide them over. I may try to flop these and see if that works, but I'm not sure if I can make that happen. Well, that was a pretty fun first ride. Off to the next test. Okay, I swapped these around for more leverage on the rear brake, and it's definitely helping, getting quite a bit more power out of it now. So I was trying to do wheelies and couldn't figure out why the power was shutting off when I hit the rear brake, and decided to try to unplug this, which is the sensor for the rear brake, and now I can do wheelies. They're still pretty hard though. Oh yeah, looped her out. Figured out it's best if you get the power going and then pull up, and then just work the rear brake while pedaling to keep the power to the motor going. And look at that, I'm riding away.
Alright, now it's my turn to give this a go. Starting out with no assist. Let's level it up a little bit. Alright. Oh, whoa. It really boosts up to number 2. Number 3 really gets it going. 4. Oh, this is going to be fun to take to work. And then here's 5. And 5, there's not much difference between 4 and 5, but I feel like it's got a nice consistent speed and it's pretty smooth. It's a smooth ride for me. This is pretty fun. What I like is actually there's no bar in the way as well. Makes it nice, especially for shorter folks. Pretty enjoyable. Oh geez, the stopping part is a little tricky at first. That's fun. I can't wait to take it to work.
That is going to be it for testing this bike in this video. I should mention that this bike was sent to me for free to do a review on. I'm pretty simple in the fact that if you want to send me a bike to do a video, I'm probably going to take it. One thing I did not get to test was the range of the Samsung battery. It is supposed to take you 30 to 55 miles depending on how much power you use, but I have not done that long of rides yet. That does lead me to my first complaint about the bike, and that is there is some rattle to the battery in the frame. It's a little bit loose on the bottom. I think I'm going to add some foam or tape between the battery and the frame to try to tighten that up. And I also had the battery loosen up and actually pop out on some of the more aggressive things I was doing. Another downside for me was the frame flex. Not having that top tube definitely weakens the frame in that direction, and that's something I really noticed when I ride it more aggressively. I did have my wife and my mom ride it. They didn't notice it at all. If you are in the market for this bike, it's probably not something that's going to matter for you. I just thought I should mention it. Not having that top tube can definitely be a benefit as well. Since this has the step-through design, it is much easier to get on the bike that way than it is to lift your leg all the way over the back or over the top tube if it were there. Another positive is the rack and the lights. I like how the lights are always mounted. You don't have to charge them. You can just turn them on. They're always ready. They are a little bit weak, but they can get you where you need to go on the road for sure. And the rack seems pretty sturdy and has a good amount of space. Another negative is the fork. Besides the play in the uppers and lowers, front to back, it is actually a little bit stiff up top for cracks in the road and small bumps, and it just doesn't have a great feel, but it does do something, and based on the level of bike that this is, you can't expect too much, but it definitely leaves something to be desired for me since I'm used to much better suspension. There's also a bit more greasy, oily residue than I would expect, and some wear starting to show in the bottom of the stanchion. Another thing of note is that I am 6 feet tall, my wife is about 5'4". The seat fits her just fine. The handlebars are a little bit high, but the bike in general fits her. It is supposed to fit someone 5'1" to 6'3", and me being 6 foot, the seat post is barely long enough, so if you have any longer legs than me, you might have a hard time getting the seat as high as you need it to be comfortable to put power down onto the pedals for a long distance. They could have spec'd it with a slightly longer seat post, and the shorter riders could have just had to cut it down, but they chose kind of in the middle. It works, but it's not completely ideal. Now, to end on a good note, this bike is actually pretty fun. While it's not something I would typically want to be riding, I did enjoy riding it off-road to see what it could handle while trying not to break it, and also cruising around on the street. It rolled really well and definitely was at home on the road. If you are interested in buying this bike, there will be a link in the description below that can save you some money. I will also be getting the standard Breeze model with the top tube from KBO to do another video, so be sure to let me know if you have any questions or things you would like to see tested in the next video.